Okay, here we go. We're going to be talking about Othello, the tragedy of Othello, the Moor of Venice, by Shakespeare. The play is normally just called Othello, but let's deal with what this means to start out with. Okay? Tragedy, of course, means someone is going to have a downfall, and that will be the Moor of Venice. Okay, a Moor is Moor is an old-fashioned word, a Shakespearean time word that meant a couple of different things. And these couple of things aren't really the same, but England at the time was a lot more concerned about being in charge than being in any way accurate or polite. So, a Moor is uh, either a Muslim or a person from Africa in general, or a black person in general. Okay. And we don't know which of these Othello really is. We never hear what country he's from. We do hear that his skin is black because it's mentioned a couple of different times, sometimes insultingly. And we don't know what country. We don't know if he's Muslim either. We don't get any real indication of his religion. Now, the Venice part of the equation is easier. Venice is a little city on the sea, just off the edge of Italy. And back in this time, there was no Italy. Venice was a city state that had little protectorate city states or colonies under it. One of them being Cyprus, one of them being Florence, one of them being Verona, other places that were sort of dependent on Venice for protection. They call them protectorates. Okay, so they would be protectorates of Venice. And since Othello was a really good soldier who had fought for Venice from from one of its other protectorates, right? It was on Venice's side in some other battles. He was promoted up to being sort of the general of all the army in Venice, army and navy. So that's where we start. I'll quickly go over the people in the play. Othello, of course, is the guy that was just mentioned. We have Iago, who is a soldier under Othello, and Cassio is also a soldier under Othello. We'll hear about who they are in a matter of minutes here. Rodrigo is potentially a soldier. He's traveling with the army, at least at one point. They don't talk about him as having any particular rank, but it kind of seems like that's what he is. Like he's just another soldier. Okay. And the two women that are important right off the bat are Desdemona, who we'll find out is Othello's wife, and Emilia, who is Iago's wife. Desdemona is Othello's new wife. They're newlyweds, and Emilia and Iago have been together for a while. Meanwhile, Bianca is a woman who is she's in Cyprus. Okay. It says she's a courtesan, which is a polite way of saying prostitute, or at least a side woman for some important people. Okay. She's she's never identified as actually being a prostitute working in a brothel, but she's talked about that way and she's treated that way repeatedly. She is in love with Cassio, this guy here, but she's not married to him. As a matter of fact, we hear that Cassio is married to someone else pretty early on. Okay. Now, a couple of guys that are important. Brabantio is Desdemona's father. He's also a senator in Venice. He's an important guy. Lodovico and Graziano, these are kinsmen or brothers of Brabantio. So they are like uncles or cousins of Desdemona. So they're in laws to Othello. Okay. The senators and the duke, these are people that are equals, peers with Brabantio. So that's, they're in the on the council. And the only other person here that we haven't mentioned, important person, these are just common people. The only other important person we haven't mentioned is Montano, who is the governor of Cyprus. He is, the ruler of the island that they're going to go to in this play. And we'll hear why in just a minute. So those are the people in the play. We're only going to talk about this first couple of paragraphs here. The rest of it's all just summary of the play, right? Spoilers all over, just so you know. Okay, if you plan on reading it ahead of time. But before the play begins, let's get some things out of the way. We know Othello is a soldier. He's from Africa. He's been chosen by the Senate of Venice. He's been chosen by the council to be the commander of the military. Okay, so he's the top dog. Now, Iago is a soldier that he's been fighting with, fighting alongside for a long time, but Iago got overlooked for promotion to being one of Othello's main lieutenants. Instead, he is an ensign, which is sort of a lowly position. Okay, almost a secretary or a gopher position, not a troop leading soldier position. He lost out to Michael Cassio, and so Iago and Cassio are are at odds with each other. They're like enemies. Okay. Now, meanwhile, Rodrigo has been courting Desdemona, or has been sort of wanting to court Desdemona. You remember, Desdemona is Othello's wife. Now, Rodrigo has been pursuing her up to now, and Desdemona and Othello just got married, like just minutes ago. So he hasn't been pursuing a married woman up till now, but now he will be. Okay. So Rodrigo then has tension with Othello also. Iago has tension with him because you passed me by. Rodrigo has tension with him because you are married to the girl I want. So when the play actually begins, we have Iago and Rodrigo talking about their situation, that they both are against Othello for their own particular reasons. And then they decide to uh, go to Desdemona's father and expose this marriage because he doesn't know about it yet. And that's going to damage Othello, or is supposed to damage Othello. That's where we're going to start at the beginning of the play. We're going to be listening to the play being read, and I will be making some notes as it goes and then stopping to give you some more notes. So here's Act 1, Scene 1.
Tush! Never tell me! I take it much unkindly that thou, Iago, who hast had my purse as if the strings were thine, shouldst know of this.
Lord, but you'll not hear me. If ever I did dream of such a matter, abhor me.
Thou toldst me thou didst hold him in thy hate.
Despise me if I do not. 3 great ones of the city in personal suit to make me his lieutenant. Off cat to him. And by the face of man, I know my price. I am worth no worse a place. But he, as loving his own pride and purposes, evades them with a bombast circumstance, honourably stuffed with epithets of war, and, in conclusion, none suits my mediators. For, certes, says he, I have already chose my officer.
And who was he? Well, we'll hear in a second. But when Rodrigo comes in, he's saying, I can't believe this happened to you. How can this be? And he's kind of says, I can't believe you put up with this. And Iago says, by his blood, you're not listening to me. And by his blood, by Christ's blood, it's like a curse. It's like he's saying, dang it, you're not listening to me. Except he's being stronger than that. And Rodrigo says, you told me you hated him. Iago says, yep, hate me if I don't hate him. In other words, yes, I do hate him. But, see, my guys, 3 great ones of the city, went to suit him to make me his lieutenant. they promoted me, but he, in his own pride and sort of arrogance, he said, "Oh, I've already chosen an officer." And now we hear who it is. It's, of course, is Cassio, but Iago has insults to throw at him when he says this.
And what was he? Forsooth, a great arithmetician, one Michael Cassio, a Florentine, a fellow almost damned in a fair wife that never set a squadron in the field, nor the division of a battle knows more than a spinster, unless the bookish theoric wherein the togaed consuls can propose as masterly as he.
Okay, so he says he's an arithmetician and a Florentine. One means that he's book smart and not experienced in war, and the other one means that he's from a town that is not exactly known for its soldiers. Okay, so he says this guy is who he named, and he's never set a squadron on the field. He doesn't know the divisions of battle. He doesn't know any of this unless the bookish theory can propose as masterly as he. He only knows the books, and he uses this term, arithmetician. He says he's got math. He doesn't have experience. And why math and not, like, I don't know, history? But he says he does things by the numbers. Okay?
He'd prattle without practice is all his soldiership. But he, sir, had the election. And I, of whom his eyes had seen the proof at Rhodes, at Cyprus, and on other grounds Christian and heathen, must be beleed and calmed by debitor and creditor. This countercaster, he, in good time, must his lieutenant be, and I, God bless the mark, his morship's ancient.
Okay. He says, I have been fighting alongside of Othello, and Othello's eyes, have seen proof at Rhodes, at Cyprus, and other places where we fought. Okay? He knows how good I am, but I must be becalmed and beleed by a debtor and a creditor. Okay, this debtor and creditor, again, this is an insult like being called a mathematician, an arithmetician. Okay? What this means, beleed and calmed, he says he's talking like a ship. I'm like a ship that's on the lee side of the island. That means there's no wind. I'm a ship that's becalmed. So I'm a ship with no wind. That's how I'm being treated, even though he knows how good a soldier I am. And he says, I, meanwhile, what am I going to be doing? I'm going to be his ensign. I'm going to be he says ancient, but it's ensign. That's his lower officer. And Rodrigo says, I'd rather be his hangman than his ensign. Iago says, yeah, me too, but I can't do that. That's the curse of service. Let's hear.
Heaven, I rather would have been his hangman.
Why, there's no remedy. 'Tis the curse of service. Preferment goes by letter and affection, and not by old gradation, where each second stood heir to the first. Now, sir, be judge yourself whether I, in any just term, am affined to love them all.
I would not follow him then.
Oh, sir, content you.
Okay, he says, things used to be done by old gradation, where one thing stood in heir to the next. The second thing stood in heir to the first. It's seniority. If you've been here long enough, you move up in rank. That's the way it used to be. We don't do that anymore. So Rodrigo says, oh, why do you keep following him then? Well, because I have to, but I'm not following him willingly. Let's hear Iago talk about it.
I follow him to serve my turn upon him. We cannot all be masters, nor all masters cannot be truly followed. You shall mark many a duteous and knee-crooking knave that, doting on his own obsequious bondage, wears out his time, much like his master's ass, for naught but provender, and when he's old, cashiered. Whip me such honest knaves. Others there are who, trimmed in forms and visages of duty, keep yet their hearts attending on themselves, and throwing but shows of service on their lords, do well thrive by them, and when they have lined their coats, do themselves homage. These fellows have some soul, and such a one do I profess myself. For, sir, it is as sure as you are Roderigo. Were I the more, I would not be Iago. In following him, I follow but myself. Heaven is my judge, not I for love and duty, but seeming so, for my peculiar end. For when my outward action doth demonstrate the native act and figure of my heart in complement extern, 'tis not long after but I will wear my heart upon my sleeve for doors to peck at. I am not what I am.
I am not what I am, which really means I am not what I appear to be. Okay? Instead, he says, so there are people who are like these knee-crooking knaves who do what they're supposed to do. They dote on their bondage, and they get worn out like their master's ass. Well, here, that means donkey. Okay, they get worn out like a donkey, and when they are old, they're cashiered, fired, cashed out, killed or butchered, maybe even, right? Then he says, but there are other people who take care of themselves. They attend to themselves while they have the visages of duty. They look like they're taking care of the people they're following. And he says, these fellows have some soul, and that's what I am. So he's very clear with Rodrigo that he is deceptive. I am a liar. I am figuring out how to do this for myself. I'm going to come out on top because I'm a liar and a cheat. Okay. Now, Rodrigo doesn't seem to mind this. As a matter of fact, Rodrigo kind of is encouraged by Iago to lie and cheat himself. So they're going to be talking about her in just a minute, her and her father. Okay, and this is Othello's new wife, and his new father-in-law that they're talking about. Let's hear what they have to say. Let's hear their plan.
What a full fortune does the thick lips owe if he can carry it thus.
Hey, call up her father. Rouse him. Make after him. Poison his delight. Proclaim him in the streets. Incense her kinsman. And though he in a fertile climate dwell, plague him with flies. Though that his joy be joy, yet throw such chances of vexation on't as it may lose some colour.
Here is her father's house. I'll call aloud.
Do, with like timorous accent and dire yell, as when by night and negligence the fire is spied in populous cities.
What ho! Brabantio! Signor Brabantio, ho!
Awake! What ho, Brabantio! Thieves! Thieves! Thieves!
Now he says, you're going to incense her kinsman, her father's household. We're going to make him angry at Othello as well. That will serve us good. And they're going with someone stealing your daughter. Okay, because they know about the marriage that just happened a little bit ago, but Dad doesn't know about it. And not only doesn't he know about it, he doesn't know that it's to someone from out of town, someone from Africa, someone who doesn't look like him. So they're going to be able to ramp that up in him as well.
Look to your house, your daughter, and your bags! Thieves! Thieves!
What is the reason of this terrible summons? What is the matter there?
Signor, is all your family within?
Are your doors locked?
Why, wherefore ask you this?
Soon, sir, you're robbed. For shame, put on your gown. Your heart is burst. You have lost half your soul. Even now, very now, an old black ram is topping your white ewe. Arise, arise. Awake the snorting citizens with the bell, or else the devil will make a grandsire of you. Arise, I say.
Have you lost your wits? Okay, the couple of lines here that are sort of worth noting. Iago is shouting out, he says, you're being robbed. Your daughter is being robbed from you. And then he gets insulting. He says, There's an old black ram tupping your white ewe. Now, a ram is a male sheep, a ewe is a female sheep. Okay. Your daughter is a white sheep, and there's a black ram tupping. Tupping, it's pretty much what you think it is. Mating with your daughter. So, it's very much a matter of insult. He says, there's somebody with your girl who is inappropriate. Huh. Okay, now, what he doesn't say right off the bat is that they're married. He just is trying to ramp this up right away. He actually goes on to say that if you don't get, to it right away, the devil will make a grandsire of you. And that's sort of an interesting phrase because grandfather, right? To be a grandfather is to be a parent of a parent. But a grandsire, a sire, is a sheep parent. So you're going to be a grandsire. So your sheep is going to have sheep, and you're going to be a grand sheep. So he's sort of insulting and saying, get your act together because your house is falling apart. Okay? And Brabantio says, what the heck are you talking about?
Have you lost your wits?
Most Reverend Signor, do you know my voice?
Not I. What are you?
My name is Roderigo.
The worser welcome. I've charged thee not to haunt about my doors. In honest plainness thou hast heard me say my daughter is not for thee. And now in madness, being full of supper and distempering draughts, upon malicious knavery dost thou come to start my quiet.
Sir.
But thou must needs be sure my spirit and my place have in them power to make this bitter to thee.
Okay, I have in my ability the power to make this bitter for you, to punish you. Well, what's he punishing him for? He says, do you remember me? He says, yeah, you're that guy that's trying to get my daughter, and I've told you she's not for you. He says, now you're full of supper and distempering drafts. You're full of food and drinking, and you're coming around here being loud. I'm going to bring the hammer down on you. I know people. And Rodrigo says, good patience, sir. It's not me. There's something more important going on.
Patience, good sir.
What tells thou me of robbing? This is Venice. My house is not a grave.
Most grave Brabantio, in simple and pure soul I come to you.
Soon, sir, you are one of those that will not serve God if the devil bids you. Because we come to do you service and you think we are ruffians, you'll have your daughter covered with the Barbary horse. You'll have your nephews neigh to you. You'll have courses for cousins and jennets for Germans.
What profane wretch art thou?
I am one, sir, that comes to tell you your daughter and the Moor are now making the beast with two backs.
So Iago is sort of taking over because Rodrigo isn't doing a good job, right? He says, wait a minute, okay, you need to listen to us because your daughter is out with this guy making the beast with two backs, which is, having sex. And he says, if you don't get with it, your daughter is going to be covered by a Barbary horse, okay, a horse from Africa. You're going to have your nephews neigh at you because they're going to be horses. You're going to have another kind of horse for cousins and another kind of horse for Germans. And these cousins and Germans are relatives, like, nephews and nieces and grandchildren. So he's making these Othello and Desdemona sound like wild animals, sort of sex-crazed animals. And that's going to make the father a little bit upset. So he's ramping up the crazy so that Brabantio will come down and do something about it.
Thou art a villain!
You are the senator.
This thou shalt answer. I know thee, Rodrigo.
Sir, I will answer anything. But I beseech you, if 't be your pleasure and most wise consent, as partly I find it is, that your fair daughter, at this odd even and dull watch of the night, transported, with no worse nor better guard, but with a knave of common hire, a gondolier, to the gross clasps of a lascivious Moor, if this be known to you, and your allowance, well, we then have done you bold and saucy wrongs. But if you know not this, my manners tell me we have your wrong rebuke. Do not believe that from the sense of all civility I thus would play and trifle with your reverence. Your daughter, if you have not given her leave, I say again, hath made a gross revolt, tying her duty, beauty, wit, and fortunes in an extravagant and wheeling stranger of here and everywhere. Straight satisfy yourself. If she be in her chamber or your house, let loose on me the justice of the state for thus deluding you.
If you let your daughter go out in the middle of the night to meet with the Moor, the soldier from Africa, if you decided to do that, then that's fine. But if not, then we have wrong rebuke. You're mad at us for the wrong reasons. If you did not tell her she could do that, then don't be mad at us. Be mad at her. Okay? If you've not given her leave, and he says she's tied her duty, beauty, wit, and fortunes to a stranger, some foreigner. Okay? By tying to him, he means, committed herself to him. He doesn't say married yet, but he says, if you don't see her in your house, then, come and talk to us. But you go check. Go see if she's in her bedroom.
Strike on the tinder hoe. Give me a taper. Call up all my people. This accident is not unlike my dream. Belief of it oppresses me already. Light, I say! Light!
Farewell, for I must leave you. It seems not meet nor wholesome to my place to be produced, as if I stay, I shall against the Moor. For I do know the state, however this may gall him with some check, cannot with safety cast him. For he's embarked with such loud reason to the Cyprus wars, which even now stand in act, that for their souls another of his fathom they have none to lead their business. In which regard, though I do hate him as I do hell pains, yet for necessity of present life I must show out a flag and sign of love, which is indeed but sign, that you shall surely find him, lead to the Sagittary, the raised search, and there I will be with him. So, farewell.
And he leaves. Now, this is Iago exiting. Notice he says, I need to go because it seems not meet nor wholesome to my place to be against the Moor. Okay? I am his soldier. I am under him. So I can't be the person who's leading you and her father to find him and knock him down, because I'm a soldier. And I know that right now the city has, they're depending on him to be the leader of the armies. So I must show out a flag and sign of love. I need to at least fake it. Okay. But, he says, these people that are coming out of this house that are angry, want to find him, lead them to the Sagittary. That is the local inn where they are staying, okay? Where the man and woman who just got married are spending the night, okay? So bring them there, and I'll see you there, okay?
It is too true and evil. Gone she is. And what's to come of my despising time is naught but bitterness. Now, Rodrigo, where didst thou see her? Oh, unhappy girl. With the Moor, sayest thou? Who would be a father? How didst thou know 'twas she? Oh, she deceives me. Past thought. What said she to you? Get mo tapers. Raise all my kindred. Are they married, think you?
Truly, I think they are.
Oh, heaven. How got she out? Oh, treason of the blood. Fathers from hence trust not your daughters' minds by what ye see them act. Is there not charms by which the property of youth and maidhood may be abused? Have you not read, Rodrigo, of some such thing?
Yes, sir, I have indeed.
Call up my brother. Oh, would you had had her? Some one way, some another. Do you know where we may apprehend her on the moor?
I think I can discover him, if you please, to get good guard and go along with me.
Pray you lead on. At every house I'll call. I may command at most. Get weapons, ho, and raise some special officers of the night. On, good Rodrigo. I'll deserve your pains.
Okay, so they're running off. Now, Brabantio, he says a couple of things here. How did she get out? She's being treasonous, which is all because she is violating his will. Okay, she's not doing what her father says. And then he says, fathers, don't trust your daughters. They're faking it. Okay, don't trust your daughters. And then he has this to say. He says, so, Rodrigo, do you know, aren't there charms? Isn't there some tricks, poisons or potions or magic that can be used to make people lose their mind? And Rodrigo says, yeah, I've heard of that kind of thing. And of course, that kind of thing comes from foreign lands. It doesn't come from our Christian nation. Says, go get my brother. And then he says, do you know where they are? And Rodrigo says, yeah, I can show you. Just follow me. And he says, I'll call at every house. I'll deserve your pains. I'll pay you for this. I'll get you. I'll reward you for your help. Let's go find my daughter and this awful man. And that's the end of scene 1.